Buckle up, everyone, and welcome to Carpool Rugby League, a show where two rugby league tragics talk everything rugby league on your way to and from work. I'm Shano.
And I'm the Chameleon.
Welcome aboard and on with the show. Listeners, great to have you back on board. It's been a couple of weeks. I'm back from overseas. Griffo, brilliant to have you with us as always. I suppose what we'll do is we'll go through some results because it's Thursday as we look at it here, and I want to go through the results because the first one I want to talk about was round 15 when South Sydney kicked it off on Thursday night, 48 points to 6. That was good for me. I was watching that in Bangkok Airport on my phone. I was very happy. Dolphins 48, Roosters 10. Great performance by Dolphins on Friday night. Sharks 10, Warriors 8. Really, really tough game of rugby league. Eels 15, Raiders 12. That was Raiders. Wow. And 36 points to 28, the Tigers over the Titans. Dogs, Cowboys, Dragons, Knights, Panthers, Seagulls, and Storm all had the bye. The ladder looks a little like this. Where is it? I just had it up. There it is. The ladder looks a little like this. And of course, it's pretty easy to tell you who's out in front. That's Penrith. What's going on here? This thing want to load for me? I'll tell you what. We'll try this again. Of course, there was a game last night, and that was the State of Origin. We will talk about that in a minute. But once this wants to do its thing, it's been a bit silly. That's okay. Oh, no, is it going? It's going. Doesn't matter. Panthers are up on front. We know that.
I can go through the ladder.
Panthers, no. It's just loaded. It was chucking a wobbly there. It was giving me every round but round 15. Panthers on top on 28 points. Warriors 22. Seagulls 20. Dolphins 20. Sharks 20. Roosters 20. Knights 20. And South Sydney round out the 8 because of for and against on 18. Cowboys on 18. Tigers on 18. 11th place Storm on 14. 12th Dogs on 14. Raiders 12 points. Broncos 12 points. It's with 108 deficit. That's a long way back. Eels 12 points. Titans 10, and the Dragons 1 win on 17th. They're on 6 points. I suppose we could let's go through your Griffo. Was your grab from the State of Origin?
Oh no!
I was going to say, well, let's go through Griffo's grab.
No.
I didn't think it would be, so I thought I'd do things in chronological order. What's your grab?
My grab is it's a dual week grab.
Yep.
So a little bit of round 14, a little bit of round 13. Yep. And a gentleman who happens to play for probably not one of the high-profile clubs, but is definitely a high-profile player. And that is the Gold Coast Titans fullback, Keanu Kinney.
Yep.
He won the game for the Titans against the Broncos 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
The Broncos had gone ahead. I don't know if you saw any of this, Shano, but
yes, yes, I had.
Okay, all right. So tight game. Broncos led, Titans led. Got to, I think, 22 all. Reynolds kicks a field goal with not long remaining. You thought, okay, Broncos going to win here. But then Kinney gets the ball on his own side of halfway. He puts a chip over, takes the ball. He was just hungrier than Reece Walsh. Somehow managed to get that ball without it contacting Walsh. And then runs off. Yeah. Like one-handed, and just an amazing. That was going to be the grab by itself. But then the next week at Leichhardt Oval, he comes up in 6 minutes with heavy involvements in three tries. He is a really fabulous player. He's in a low-profile team, obviously, but he's playing my team this week, and it worries me. Keanu Kinney's got all the skills. He's fast. He's evasive. He really is a crowd pleaser, and I know the Gold Coast Titans have got him tied up for quite a few years, and that was, they've made some mistakes in the past, the Titans management, but they seem to be on the right track with some of the things they've done in the last 2 years at least, and one of them was signing that guy. Kinney, as I said, he's got all the skills, and he is a match winner. Literally, he was a match winner against the Broncos. Even his brilliance last week wasn't enough. I didn't see the second half, but I knew the score. Somehow the Titans managed to lose that game after leading for much of it. But Keanu Kinney is this week's grab.
Yeah, great player. And just his ability to be able to see the play, and the confidence, like I suppose what when I look at him and the Titans, and what worries me when you look at that is that this guy's got so much confidence, and sometimes that can, even the best teams, that it's enough to break you to bits. Like he throws caution to the wind 3 times. He could score 3 tries, and all of a sudden he's got a hat trick. Hat trick in no time, and you're looking at an 18-0 deficit, and that's it's sometimes hard. He's a very good player. Look, we're going to have to do it, Griff. We're going to have to talk about last night's game. The Maroons 44, Blues 24.
Rip the band-aid off.
We might as well rip the band-aid off. Look, for New South Wales, that would have hurt. Stags, double to Nawanta Nikawase and Mitch Barnett in the 77th minute. The Aero Cobbo double, Jojo Fafita, the Hammer, Lindsay Collins and Selwyn Cobbo. But I suppose if you're a Roosters fan, you'd be watching it 7 from 7, Sam Walker. And interestingly, I was watching another game at the Bangkok airport on my way to Europe. I was watching the Blues game, and I tell you what, if I was unaware of this, and an Australian told me that this is, when I was at the airport, that this is okay. You go to the shop and you buy cans of beer, and you can just sit down in the terminal and drink them. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to watch the State of Origin. And if anyone had seen me in the first half, they would have thought I was a dead set flight risk. And then in the second half, I was again,
locked up.
Looking at, and I brought that up because I honestly thought if the Blues didn't win, I thought Sam Walker may have been man of the match in that side. And last night, 7-7 is a great result. Look, I'm going to come out and say it. I'm really worried for the next game in Brisbane. If what we saw last night, especially in that second half, repeats itself. It's one thing to talk about what's right, what's wrong. I suppose, Griffo, something's got to change. I know Phil Gould said that Laurie Daly shouldn't listen to anybody. He doesn't know your rugby league prowess. What needs to change before? What's some things that need to change before we go up to Brisbane and at Brisbane? Because during the game, what's some key things you think need to change?
Well, I just you mentioned game one. We'll just briefly talk about that. New South Wales were woeful in the first half.
Yeah,
they're absolutely dreadful, and but not as bad as they were in the second half last night. Really, but actually, no, probably it was on a par. It was just Queensland were better last night than they were in the first half in game one. We're sitting here and it's 1 each, but it feels like we've already lost the series.
It's fair point.
But we haven't. That's the thing. Like, where there's life, there's hope.
That's right. I fully agree.
we were not the better team in game one, but we won the game. And that's all that matters. It doesn't matter who the better team was. You know, we had, obviously in the World game, we saw the Turkish players sort of saying they dominated the game. Well, you lost 2-0. It don't matter. It don't matter if you dominate the game. Yeah. You got to dominate the scoreboard.
That's right.
And New South Wales managed to get a win in game one. They only led virtually right at the end of the game when it counted, but they were terrible. They had the biggest comeback margin ever in an Origin game, which makes it sound great, but we know that Queensland were without a player for the last 23 minutes.
Yeah.
And realistically, and I don't think anyone thinks New South Wales are going to win that game, with 13 against 13.
No, we don't win.
But the Queenslander, he was responsible for his own dismissal. And New South Wales did go on to win the game, despite giving lots of people in the crowd, potential heart attacks, just the way they went about it, with some tries bombed when it was harder to not score than score. But be that as it may, we did win game one. And I was there and walked away a happy man, thinking that, okay, this is good. Last night, New South Wales actually started much better. Obviously, they've had 3 games in a row where their start was woeful. They were down by big scores in all the previous 3 games. But this time, they actually led at half-time. Queensland certainly finished the half off well with a magnificent try. There was some bad defence that, probably had the defence had been better, they would have stopped it. But credit to Queensland team, and I say that through sort of clenched teeth.
Yeah.
But you got to take your hat off to a team that played pretty much to the best of their ability for most of that game. New South Wales got a little bit lucky with the first try. Flegler just dropping the ball after the kickoff. Got a little bit lucky with the bounce of the ball in the second try, but you make your own luck. You put yourself in the position. And it was looking good. They were, defense was pretty solid. And then Queensland, as I said, they score that great try and go in at 12-8. They're still feeling pretty good, they're up. And then the second half, it was just like they didn't come out of the sheds. Like Queensland attacked with a greater level of speed, skill, enthusiasm, whatever you want to put out there that you need in a game. They were better in every possible facet of that second half, and created chances, and they didn't bomb them. They scored, and they scored again, and they scored again, and there was some bad defense at stages. Nathan Cleary, who I'm a massive fan of, a couple of defensive errors that were costly. But not just him. There were a number. It was, as I said, that first Queensland try. I think it was the hammer made the break. He pushed. He got past Staggs, and then he palmed off Dylan Lucas. And,
that Lucas miss was.
Yeah, I mean, Lucas was basically in the side to stop that sort of stuff happening. I think that's what they sort of. We'll get to the dropping of Hamoli a bit later, but just sticking to what happened in the game, Queensland were way too good, too fast. New South Wales in the start of that second half, they're set to 6 on their line. They were making they weren't even making 20 metres. Mitchell Moses helped them out immensely with his
some of his
kicks
were huge.
Yeah, but then Queensland would just get straight back up there, and it happened again. And there was just nothing, no go forward there. And I think that was the time that Payne Haas and Fanua Blake hadn't been introduced, so they had 3 or 4 locks out there, and really no recognised front rowers, so they were struggling to go forward, but sort of hanging on. But then, once they scored, and then Katoni Staggs, who had a bit of a forgetful night, poor old Katoni, threw some shocking passes, missed tackles, and then he was trying to have it. I understand what he was trying to do, which was to, really make a statement with his defence. But I thought he was lucky to stay on the field. I thought he was going.
I thought he was lucky just to get 10.
Sent off for something I thought was pretty similar in the first game, and when he put his 2 hands up, I thought, gee, he's got off there.
I thought if you looked at Swatalihi, Ponga, I thought that he was gone. When he went for 10,
I think he's probably thought it as well. I don't know how he wasn't sent off, but
no, I agree.
The damage was done. They actually scored the try on that play. And then when New South Wales were down a player, I think they might have got a couple more. New South Wales did come back with a try to really, I think, their only player who had a good game, and that was Marky Mark on the wing. Found the try line a few times when didn't look like he would, but we know he's got unbelievable ability to score a try. Kept us in the game there, but then they scored again, and it was just, I think Mitch Barnett might have scored the last try of the game, but it just made the scoreline not quite as embarrassing. But
sorry, listeners, had technical glitch. Griffo, talking about how embarrassing it was.
Yes, it was. Mitch Barnett scored the last try, which made the scoreboard look not quite as bad, but it was a hard watch in the second half. Very little ball, but it was just too good. Queensland were too good, too fast, and you mentioned earlier what changes, what can be done. I haven't really given it a whole lot of thought. It depends on, obviously, what happens with players who've been out with injury. Also, we know that someone will get injured in between now and the next game. Don't know who. Might be more than one. Unfortunately, Casey McLean missed out on this game. He got injured. They were nursing his ankle, and then he does something to his quadricep, which I think he could be out for 3 or 4 weeks, which is basically rules him out of game 3, which is unfortunate because he was outstanding when he came on in game 1. And then he got that injury against the Tigers 2 weekends ago in the massacre at Combat. I was much happier after that one.
I don't know, we went out for the day, I think, and I was like, I sort of, I don't know, it might have been because you guys had was it the afternoon or evening match you guys had that day?
It was Sunday afternoon. It was a 2:00 game.
That's right, because I got a gut feeling. We went. I think I went. We did. We got up. I might have gone. We might have. Anyway, we're doing some stuff, and I thought, I'd be 4-ish at home. I'll check the score. And when I saw it, I went, oh my god. And I think I saw it at 50. It was like, there was more to come.
Well, Our good friend, the doctor, who is a big fan of the West Tigers, I saw him at half time. He wasn't happy with the Tigers' performance, and he actually left early, which he doesn't normally do.
No,
but yeah,
wow.
That was a great game for as a Penrith supporter. It's bringing a smile back to my face actually just thinking about that one. But
very cool.
But unfortunately, as I said, Casey McLean, who would have been playing in the centres, starting at centre in last night's game, copped a bit of an ankle something or other, and then in the warm up, after he'd had a number of days off training for the Blues, he does his quad, so he's out of the next game as well.
Okay.
For the Blues, he's got to miss a few Panthers games. None of that pleases me, but he's got to recover. He's important. If Penrith are going to do anything in this premiership, then they really are going to need him out there. As for the Blues, what they do, well,
I suppose can I ask a question on last night's game? I actually thought, I don't know what your thoughts are on this. I actually thought the game, 15 minutes to go, was built for Appy. Did the Blues miss an opportunity by not bringing Appy on and having him there at the start? No, that sort of last 15.
I don't think there's anyone who would disagree that in hindsight, we can say it in hindsight, but during the game, we needed something. Appy may have provided a spark. We definitely needed a spark. I don't know if he could have, anything really would have changed too much, but it would have been worth a try. Laurie Daly had a choice. He only had one replacement left by that stage, and it was either Strange or Appy. I think it was pretty much not long after Staggs got sent to the bin, and he went with Strange. A lot of people say that's a strange choice. Well, he's made a few. Yeah. Speaking of which, I could not believe it when Hamoli was left out of the 19. So there's one change. Yeah. Hamoli comes back.
Oh, yeah.
Really? I'm trying not to lay the boot into Laurie Daly too much because he was a legend of a player. And he's a good guy. He's got a massive heart. He's in the right place. But he's not a good coach. There's no evidence to say he's a good coach. When Maguire decided that he was going to go to the Broncos, and we talked about this in the past, I was unhappy about that for two reasons. Number one, he was leaving the Blues. We just won a series against the odds. And number two, I thought, the Broncos are going to be in danger now. And that's how it panned out. They won the comp. And then when they said, New South Wales Blues coach for the next, I think they gave him 2 years, Laurie Daly, I thought, oh my goodness me. This is a worry. As I said, I don't want to bag him too much, and I won't, but I just don't think that coaching at that level, even though he was a great player, passionate, all of that, there's no evidence he's a great coach. And he's had his record. I know he came up against those great Queensland sides that weren't necessarily coached by great coaches. Mal Meninga and Kevin Walters. Queensland could have had no coach during that era when they had guys like Smith, Thurston, Lockyer, Cronk. The team just, Inglis, the team pretty much, they didn't need a coach. They had Cameron Smith as a leader. They had John Lockyer as a leader, and then Thurston as a leader. I mean, and they were successful. And Laurie's, he did win a series. Broke the drought. I think he'd been in charge for a few years before that happened. And then, it went back to Queensland again, and Laurie was replaced by Freddie. We rose for a year or two. It was all looking rosy, and then, went south again. Billy Slater has proven himself to be a master coach. Hurts me to say that a bit, but it's true.
Can I also add that something there, Griff? I was talking to we're teachers, talking to kids today, and they said, what do they think the difference was? And I said, look, for me the key difference between the two sides last night is it seemed like one team had a plan and the other didn't, and that I think that's what makes. I actually think Billy Slater is a very good coach, and I think it's because regardless of any game he comes into, he has a plan, and he tweaks it and he sticks to it, and he molds it as the game goes on. That's what's missing for me and the Blues, and I just think you go into Queensland, you got it like, and I know a lot of people, I think wrongly, say, but we got people like Isaiah, Cam Murray, the Penrith Panthers. Your coach makes the plan. The coach is the guy who can see. He can see the forest for the trees. He's watching the game. He's up high. He's watching it evolve. When you're on the ground, you can't see that, or only very good players can see that. And that's Andrew Johns was a king at it. That's why he's an immortal. Like, if every player could do this, then everyone would be an immortal. That's what the coach is for, and I just feel like you don't like to lay the boot into anyone, and I'm not, but I'm just saying it just felt like, and game one, I know I was watching it on my phone, game one felt the same. The reason why the Blues won game one, in my opinion, is number one, a player got sent off, but number two, some individual players, and you don't get better than Nathan Cleary, decided to break the mold a little bit and go a bit rogue. And I'm telling you now, like Teddy wound the clock back with catching that ball.
He had a poor game before that.
Yes. And I just think
but all was forgiven and forgotten because he won the game for us.
And I just think that's for me, like last night was the night we needed a plan and we didn't have one. And I know people go, but we were ahead. Yeah, we were ahead because there was a knock on intent within 10 off the kickoff. That helps. Like they gifted us a try.
Yeah.
And I was worried at half time. I was in no way comfortable. And I just think that for me.
I'm not comfortable. I thought at least we're in front.
At least that's it. And I think that's for me. That's the difference between the two sides at the moment, regardless who's picked. And I was absolutely gobsmacked when Olakau'atu wasn't picked. I thought it was a joke. I thought I was watching some Queensland AI generated thing on my phone. And I'm flicking and I'm going, okay. And then my daughter goes, Dad, Olakau'atu's not picked. And I went, no. I said, I saw the same thing. I think it's fake news. And it wasn't until I actually actively went to the NRL app and watched the team be announced. And when I heard that he was, basically once it sort of got down to the last couple and I hadn't heard his name, I'm like, you're kidding. I'd have him starting. So
I would have as well.
Yeah.
But you don't remove a weapon. Like, you don't, if you go to war, you want your best weapons. You don't want them not able to be used, decommissioned or something behind all the other weapons you've got. They don't use to you there. You can't use it. It just, it defies logic. They obviously had their reasons. And from what I've heard, it seems as though it might have been that they didn't feel his defence just getting across quickly and whatnot was up to scratch. He did get in the way for a try that got disallowed, and he dropped the ball. Well, you cannot possibly blame him for dropping that ball that Teddy threw at his ankles. That was not his fault.
No. And that was sort of the reason that was sort of thrown up. And I thought, really?
No. He didn't have a bad game.
No.
That was the thing. And then the game after it for Manly, he was man of the match. He had like over 250 running meters. Like more than half, I think, were post-contact. His post-contact meters were better than the total running meters of any of the South Sydney players that night.
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah.
He killed South.
He did. No.
Then he gets dropped.
100% he did. He did. And he did it single-handedly. I wish Manly had dropped him. South probably win. So, yeah, it's just...
So there's a blunder. That's just an absolute blunder. And, you can't get around that. You may have been unhappy with some facets of his game, but you don't take him out of the 19.
I just don't know how
What's the point of him being 20th man?
I don't know how you could be upset with him. Like, I was thinking, did I miss something? Have I... I was waiting for something to come out in the press that he did something stupid in camp. I was waiting for all this information to come out, and it's like, no, he just got dropped, and he didn't. What frustrates me, and Willie Mason actually, I forget his podcast. Oh, I've got it on the tip of my tongue.
Levels,
right? Okay, go and I'm sure if you Google it, you'll see. Go to the unveiling of the team as heard by Willie Mason. And he's just gobsmacked. But he said something that I haven't heard many people say, but this guy went from starting to being dropped for no reason. You have to have a reason to do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't
and he was the only one dropped. The others were ruled out with injury.
That's right. Anyway, I didn't get it. He's got to be there next game. I don't care what anyone says. And you know what? If it means he's got to eat a bit of humble pie, please have double helpings with cream.
I think every baker in New South Wales.
Oh mate, I'm
making up the
I've got the oven preheating. The bloody pastry's been rolled now. It's just, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, there's a game. It's going to be game 3. It's in a few weeks. It's going to be interesting.
On that as well, Shane, as possible ins. Like, we don't know the health of Latrell. If it's proven that, like, if he comes back and plays for South and gets through it without problem, I would bring him into the side. You got to roll the dice.
Yeah.
I wouldn't make too many changes. Particularly in the back line. You need to have some pace there. I would leave Tolotau Kohler in there. He went all right, actually, Kohler. But it's not a quick... Marky Marks, he's quick. He's not, an out-and-out speedster. But, you got Marky Mark there. Toto will stay there. He got jumped over a couple of times. but he didn't have a bad game. He didn't have a great game in the game one. But I would bring Latrell in for Katoni, who did have a poor game. I'd leave Colwood there. You need his pace. The question is, does Teddy keep his spot? Dylan Edwards has been outstanding. Teddy'd been outstanding at club level. I think he had an off night. I think the Roosters got whacked in their last game. He wasn't so good in the game where he last played, I should say.
Can I? On Teddy, he had a couple of good runs last night. Can I say, I'm starting to see a physically exhausted rugby league player. And you know, fair enough. He's getting old, right? Like if you,
he is.
You know,
He's
like if Robinson's smart, you start, you know, you're putting in mitigation to rest this guy. At first, I didn't care. Now I'm starting to think, game 3, a guy that's looking tired. If you know, like you got to win. That's the way it is, and you got to win in Queensland. You know, like, you know, ring Madge. What would he do? But
yeah, that's a good point.
I'm starting to think that, you know what?
Go and coach the Broncos for a couple of
months. Yeah, well, you know what?
You do a swap.
It's a switcheroo. Yes, please, because then the Broncos would be worse. And you couldn't get much worse at the moment. But it's I'm sort of thinking of it. Well, you've got a guy who's played 2 Origins. For his club, he's starting to look tired. Is it about time we say, look, Teddy, it's not necessarily about form, it's about fitness. And we need someone in there who's, you know, who's right in that regard. And that, in my mind, that's Edwards.
Well, we both, you know, when we picked our teams before game 1, we both had Teddy in there.
Yep.
And as I said, I thought he had a poor game. He was found out of position a few times by the Queensland kickers. The Maroons come up with a couple of tries.
And did you notice last night he wasn't defending in the line? And I think that put a lot of stress on our middle forwards. He was actually last night. I don't know. I don't listen to commentary enough, but I noticed last night, 5 meters out, he was actually on the try line. Defending 5 out, so 15 out. Our and the reason why a fullback comes up into the line is it just takes enough pressure off those middle forwards. It just helps them. You know, it might be one less tackle. It could be he wasn't doing that because I think they got into his head, and he wanted to cover the kicks. And I really feel that our middle forwards got exhausted on the back of that. Considering at one stage they had their middle forwards in the first 20 minutes off because we'd done the same to them. I just think.
I mean, we'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks, but I do think that's a possible change they could make with Cleary halfback, and I don't think Nathan had a good game last night. I think the only bloke who did was the winger, Marky Mark. But just the combination with Edwards, I just think we've won one. We were lucky, and credit to Teddy, he caught that ball, won us a game. But I just thought what happened before that wasn't too good. So I would bring in Edwards. He's the best fullback at reading the play and positionally.
That's very true. Yes.
Find him found out too often with those kick throughs and whatnot, and that's an area that could be better for us. And I think it's probably given I just another reason I don't want too many changes is because these guys, they just haven't had a lot of games with each other. Most of them are playing with each other for the first time.
No.
Um,
One change I would make, and I'm not saying this because I follow this. I follow the team he plays for. Cameron Murray has to be in the starting lineup.
Well, I don't know why he hasn't.
You
been
had
in
him
the
there,
first two
Griffo,
games.
didn't you? You had him there.
Absolutely.
That guy comes on, and when he got taken off last night, I'm like, what? Really? Like, like he came on, he threw a beautiful ball. He threw a beautiful ball, which almost led to.
Did he pass to Barnett?
He passed to Barnett in the end, but he threw a magical ball earlier, and it's just like you just went, like what? The energy. I'm telling you now, I love the way him and Yo interact. Like I as a South Sydney fan, I'm like, imagine if Yo played for South, and I'm sure you went, the way those two interact and the way subsequently, Cleary interacts, and I'll watch him because he's our captain, and I just think, wow, what it's just amazing how how that sort of happens, and I'm thinking, I'm rugby league has changed, and I think in the last 12 months the start has been more important than ever. And like we often talk about that fatigue period, you have to generate fatigue first. And I just think if you had Yo, Olakau'atu, Murray on at the same time at the start of a match with Payne Haas, that would just if I was a forward pack, no matter how good I was, like if I got the equivalent Penrith forward pack, I know Yo versus Yo, like if I was playing on my computer, and I added Haas and Murray with Olakau'atu and Yo, you're like, holy cow, that's formidable. There's not. That's one of the, you couldn't, I don't think Queensland has a better forward pack. So why do we wait? I think that for me, that game one, those guys have to be on the field at the same time at the start of the game.
No, I'm not going to argue any of that.
Yeah.
So Hudson Young, he's there as well. Basically you got Yo up front with Payne Haas. Whether you want to keep Robson or not, I'm not going to sack Robson at this stage. I don't think he's been responsible.
No.
But you will get Brayley back from injury. So I know Appy didn't see any game time, but Brayley was very good when he came on in game one. Got a broken arm with his club, but is expected to be back. And I would have him back in as the reserve hooker and seeing game time, because he's got skill, and he's Robson's a good player, but he ain't got the skill level. No one's got the skill level of Harry Grant. Harry Grant again last night could have been charged with murder for what he did to us, he does it all the time. It's not we don't know what he's going to do.
There was this. They did that short side raid. They did, and his run, and that's why I thought Appy's shoulders, the way he moves, it just squares the defense up. I felt like we needed someone to come on and do to them what they're doing to us, but out of dummy half. That was clinical. Like. And you know what? We talk about attack. The guy's defense was outstanding too. Like when they were going through that period where Tino Tino went off. He was gassed. Flegler was gassed. He was just in the middle. It sent like every tackle he was making, and it was hard. And then he steps up and does that. Anyway, it's just.
It looked bad. The defensive was bad. It looked bad. Cleary's just shot out to get the first runner.
Yeah.
But what happened was Payne Haas, who was the other marker, he just stayed with the marker. He didn't come across. Like,
there was actually, I tell you, there was actually something in the game which made me. I just talking about Cleary. Cleary got penalised for attacking the arm of the player.
Yeah, they said there'd been a change to that rule.
I know. I just think that's if we're going to start giving penalties for that, I'm thinking more for clubland than I am state of origin, whatever it was penalty. That guy, he was a marker. He was a marker, or a defender they call, I think. That guy took 2 steps. And he come out a marker and took 2 steps. If you can't attack the player after taking 2 steps, well, then what can you do?
Yeah. But, I mean, look, that's how it's interpretation now, so I'm not going to argue with that. But, yeah, like, we're just sort of going around in circles because we're both really
that's right. We got some things to move on to. So, closing remarks, Cliff.
Its series is 1-1.
Yep.
That is the cold hard truth. Even though it don't feel that way, we are still a chance.
100%.
But we've got to improve our defense. They're killing us out wide. So that's the and I know that's why Dylan Lucas, that was the main reason he was brought in, but he did not solve the problem. So
jam up.
I mean, straight back in Al Kawatu. Whether Lucas makes the extended bench, well, I'm not going to debate that right now. But yeah, we've got to improve our defense, and even like if we and I want Latrell there, but
so
we lose speed with Latrell. We've got to improve just the way that they work together, because the hammer, he does it all the time, and did it again. He just carve us up with his speed.
But the other thing is, Griffo, and I think this is the, I go back to I call it the Greg Inglis effect. Greg Inglis was so good, and look,
that's
Alex,
the guy from New South Wales who played.
Yeah, that's right. And Alex Johnson scored, highest try scorer. He got a lot of ball from Greg Inglis, and the reason why Greg Inglis was good is not because he was a freak. He was a freak, yes, but when he held the ball, 3 players would come to him and 2 would be hesitant. That was a Hammer last night. Hammer would get the ball. All of us wanted to rush to him, and then 2 players either side of them went, "Oh my God, what do I do?" And we need that player, and that's what Latrell does. Love him or hate him, or and take him or leave him.
If he's wearing blue, I love him.
When he holds the ball, he attracts so much attention, which means there's gaps. I didn't feel the only guy I felt that really did that for us last night in some ways was Marky Mark. When the ball went wide, everyone wanted to run to him, and he almost scored one of the most freakiest tries I've ever seen. But it's I think it's going to be interesting. We've got a little bit of time to game 3, and it's just going to be interesting to see what goes on there. The teachers in us, you can take the person out of the classroom. You can't take the classroom out of the teacher. We got report cards, don't we, Griff?
Semester 1, yeah.
Written. You wrote written on round 13 after round.
Yeah, so it's going back a couple of rounds.
That's all right.
We're round 15 this week or 16.
That's right. We are at round 16 this week. So what I've done.
So this is 2 weeks ago.
I've done is I've gone to the round 13 table.
Yep.
And I don't think a lot has changed really. So let's go from top to bottom. Number 1, your pride and joy, the Penrith Panthers.
Okay, so 11 wins, 1 loss, 1 bye, plus differential of 205, 24 points. They were an A. They have been outstanding in almost every game. They had a bit of a lull around that Bulldogs game where they lost, and a couple other games where they just just got over the line, but they did get over the line. They've only had one loss, and they've been outstanding. So A there.
Can I also say, yes, and also just listeners, this is a good time to do it because it's just before everyone had their latest sort of loads of buys too. So round 13, a good time to look at this. For me, they're an A. If I could give A plus plus, I think they've been sublime. I think every change the NRL has made, they've been able to work with. I think everything from front to back of this club has been classy this year. Even the way Ivan Cleary has handled his announcement of his retirement, it's from Penrith, that is. I just look at this club and just think, wow, they have just in every regard just been so good, and their defense is immense. Like, you can talk about their attack, they kill you first with their defense. I remember a guy I knew who used to play for South Sydney, back in the 60s, 50s, 50s and 60s, late 50s, early 60s. And what I said to him, look, I love talking about South Sydney and talk to him about the great sides, that South had then, and people like John Sattler and Eric Sims and Ron Coote, and the list goes on. And I said, but tell me about St George. What was St George like? You played against them during that run. And he said what St George would do is they'd give you the ball and they'd kick the shit out of you. And he said then they'd just run over you and score points. And that for me, when I look at Penrith, that's Penrith for me. They love giving you the ball. Like, they'll kick on the third and fourth and they'll just slam the daylights out of you in defence. And then once you're buggered, once you're rooted, once you've dropped the ball 20 out, they just go and bang, score tries. All right, they're an A. Warriors in second place, 20 points. 9 wins, 3 losses. They've got a bye, plus 154 differential. Second best defence in the league. Second best attack. What did you give them?
Yeah, I gave him an A. They were 9 wins, 3 losses, as you said. They've been outstanding. I know they had a narrow loss their last game, but at round 13, they were going really. They're still going really well. But they surprised me. I didn't actually think they were going to make the 8 this year. I thought they'd drop away, but I was wrong on that one. They're making the 8 for sure. And I dare say they're going to be in the top 4. But they were going really well. Strong forward pack. Tanner Boyd was great until he got injured, but I've been impressed with Tamari Martin, who's come in to fill that breach. A for me for the Warriors for the first half of the year.
Yeah, A for me too, mate. I know you look at Penrith out in front, but 9 wins, 3 losses in most years. You're at the top of the list. 154 differential, just yeah. I thought their game against Penrith, interestingly enough, showed me that I remember in 2003, Penrith versus the Roosters. Penrith lost that game, and I was actually at that game. I don't know what I was doing at the game. I think I was bored, and I thought, this is going to be a cracker. I'm going to watch this. And every fan I could see wasn't unhappy. And it was like, that was the loss we needed. If we're going to beat this team, we need to start decoding what they do. That was a bit the Warriors' loss for me. I don't think they were too upset by their loss. It's like, we needed that. We need to work out what they can do so that we can do it. Coach is absolutely amazing. I think they've done a phenomenal job. I thought they'd do well. I didn't think they'd do this well. Sydney Roosters, 18 points, 7 wins, 4 losses. They've had 2 byes. They're at a plus 47 differential. Very, very good. Very, very good defense at the moment. People will probably question their attack. Griffo, what have you got them?
Yeah, I gave them a B. They put in some poor performances. Obviously, they put in a lot of good ones because it was 7-4. But their position on the ladder at that stage was inflated by the fact that they had 2 byes, whereas the 2 teams behind them on the ladder had only had 1, and the team way down the ladder had none. They actually had more wins. But we'll get to them. But I thought, there's definitely not A because they had some bad losses.
No, I agree with you. Yep.
But yeah, certainly B for the Roosters, who were in position 3 at that stage.
Yeah, I've got them as a B. It's really funny because a lot's been made of people like Marky Mark and their attack, and you look at their points for, and it's just it's sort of like, to put it in comparison, I think the Dolphins at that stage had about 290, they're 297, so they're sort of well behind those around them. Defense has helped them immensely, and I think their forward pack has been at the forefront of that. I think out wide, people like Robert Toya has also been masterful in that regard. I've got them a B. I think I know on the table there they probably would slip down to they'd probably slip down a little bit, but 7-4, that's a B. The next one, the Knights, they have 18 points. There were 8 wins, 4 losses, plus 34. Griffo, what were your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think they've been one of the great success stories of 2026. The Newcastle Knights at that stage were in the top 4. Some scintillating attacking football, and they had a number of weeks where their 2 big stars and a few others as well, Ponga and Dylan Brown, were out injured. Not just them, others as well. But there's, they're both on well over the $1 million each. Big slices, salary cap. They had other guys like Brad McBest and Fletcher Sharp out at various stages, as well as Simon Smith has had injuries, and some of the forwards as well. So when they've had their best team on the park, they haven't lost too many games at all. That coach, Justin Holbrook, has just transformed that team and there's not too many differences from last year's team. Obviously Dylan Brown in, and Trey Mooney's been fantastic up front to replace Leo Thompson, and Sandon Smith as well has been good for him. But essentially, it's very close to the team that was running around last year that won a wooden spoon. So we mentioned coaches earlier. The coach makes a difference.
Oh, they've got a plan. I've been so impressed with their discipline and their ability to stick to it. Sorry to interrupt.
Not at all.
I fully agree with you, Griff. The coach makes a difference in this regard. I gave them a B as well. I thought that they were just, and it's amazing how he's been able to utilise. Like Dane Gagai, I thought he looked so tired last year and and looked almost fed up. He made a break. Was it last week before? And you went, I
think
remember
it was a week before.
I remember watching him at South. That's the kind of stuff
good.
he was doing at South 5 or 6 years ago. And you just go, not only has he got them playing to a really solid plan, but he's got them enthusiastic. They look like an enthusiastic rugby league side. And then what happens is every Nova Castrian and his dog gets to the game, and it's a fortress again. And it's so... I've been an away fan when that place is a fortress. It is an uncomfortable place to watch. It's the most uncomfortable place to watch rugby league as an away fan. I've been to many, many grounds. And I've been to Penrith when it's packed and South are playing. I've been to Brookie. I've been to Leichhardt. I've been so many different grounds as an away fan. I'm telling you, I've been to Belmore back in the day, and watching South and the Dogs at Newcastle. You feel uncomfortable. It's like the team lifts. It's like the crowd lifts that team. Not that you feel unsafe. I'm not saying that. It's just that you look at it, and when they cheer, it's like they grow another 3 feet in the air. It's just a different atmosphere, and that's what they've got happening at the moment. Well, next, Manly Seagulls. They were on 16 points, 7 wins, 5 losses, 1 bye. They're 103 points differential. They tore the Band-Aid off, and Foz has a full-time gig with the Seagulls. Griffo, I'm going to question without notice here. If we binned the Seabold days and just did the foreign, I got them a B, and probably you're the same. If we just did the foreign days, they'd be an A, wouldn't they?
Absolutely. Because they would have had 7 wins, 2 losses. They've had 5 losses in the year. 3 of them were under coach Anthony Seabold, the first 3 games of the year, all at home. And since that point in time, they are a changed rugby league team. And for most of the games that they've played under coach Kieran Foran, Turbo's been out. He was there at the beginning. He was there for a couple of wins, but he's been out for a long time. Yet they've still maintained that momentum, and they lost to the Panthers by 2 points, and their other loss was a narrow loss as well. I'm trying to think who it was that beat them, but again, it was a narrow loss. I can't remember who it was. So they excelled.
It was the Sharks, 28-22.
Okay, yeah. So against a good quality side.
And that was away. Sharks away. They were away to the Sharks.
Yeah, so they've been outstanding. I've got them as a B because overall it's still a 7-4 win-loss. But 7-5. But yeah, a B there. But as you say, in the Kieran Foran era, it's been an A.
Yep. The next up, I'm with you. The next up are the South Sydney Rabbitohs. They were 6 wins, 5 losses. Had 2 byes, a plus 58 differential. I think when we look at it, probably 1, 2, 3. I think 5th best attack in the competition. Griffo, where'd you have the Bunnies, mate?
Yeah, it really has been a yo-yo for this team. They've been up and down, but I think most of the down has been because of the injuries that they've had to deal with again. And I know they changed their their staff and whatnot to try and do something about it, because it's been this way for a couple of years. But again, this year, Latrell obviously has been the big loss for them. They've played some absolutely brilliant football, but then some other games they've been quite poor. I've given them a C with the 6 and 5. Good differential, plus 58, which is in these days where it's so tight that could be the difference in making the 8 or not making the 8, or you definitely want to work on that and have a good differential just to get you higher up the ladder, because the chances are that positions are going to be determined, many of them, by for and against. So I didn't think they've done enough to get a B. It's only slightly better than a 50-50 ratio win-loss.
Yeah, I agree with you, Griff. I had them as C. It's amazing. I find I've got them as a C, and I'm with you. I think that it's about having that positive differential. That's a good thing for them. They've done a lot of things right, especially early. Even if we fast forward two rounds to where they are today, they're still at that just one win better than a loss. That if they can maintain that, you'd think that would be
That gets you in the 8,
top eight berth,
especially when you got a good differential.
Yep, and it's I got them as C. It's for me, South Sydney's biggest problem is I don't think, and I know they've got injuries. I get that. I still don't think Wayne Bennett's sold on the team yet. And you can see the team evolving. And look, I'm happy to see it evolve because I'm seeing some really, really good things. I think that the game against the Seagulls, they were in it for a while and then got pummeled. I just think that if he can get, if we fast forward to the end of the year and at the second semester we're giving him a B, well then they've done everything right. If we're giving them a D, we know they haven't. And I just think that when I look at South, I think they're stuck. And I know last round was Jaiara round and a lot of emotion around that, but it was. I think we're starting to see a more accomplished rugby league side that is just chipping away at that 50% range. I've got them as a C. As well, the Dolphins, they are 6 wins, 5 losses, 2 byes as well. They're a plus 51 differential. They were in 7th at that time. Griffo, where do you see the Dolphins?
Well, at that time, I gave them a C.
Same here.
They had a very poor start to the year. They were starting to string some wins together. We know that that's continued, and they're now sitting in the top 4. But 2 weeks ago, they were 7th. Very similar to the Rabbitohs, very similar differential. And I've got them in the same letter there. I'm giving them a C. But they are a team on the rise at the moment. Watch out for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I had them as a C. 6 and 5. They've won their last 2, 8 and 5. In saying that, they've. I looked at this and I went, okay, well they played the Cowboys. Where are the Cowboys at? The game against they got the Roosters at the right time. But they are, there were some big guns out for the Dolphins as well, and I really think it's Herbie Farnworth and his rugby league IQ is starting to take hold of this club, and as a whole, they're looking really good. I had them as a C at the same time, so we're on the same page. In 8th place was Sharks. They were 6 and 5 plus 40 differential. Griffo, where did you have the Sharks?
Well, again, it's very similar to the Rabbitohs and the Dolphins. A decent differential with a 6-5 win-loss ratio. it's a C. But again, as we've seen with the Dolphins, they've won their last 2 as well, and they've moved up to position 5. But we're looking at halfway point, and at that stage they were C. They've continued to play really well, despite the fact that they've been without their skipper Brayley for the last, since the last 2 games at least. They've also been without the halfback and marquee signing, Nico Hines, but they've not really skipped a beat. Trindle's been outstanding. He seems to play better without Nico there.
He was outstanding.
Yeah.
He's been brilliant. Big game this week, and we'll talk about that later. They play the Roosters. Both these sides. This is a massive game this week for both these teams. I had them as a C at that time. I'm with you. I just think I thought they were a bit Jekyll and Hyde, and they've gone. They are. It's true. Yeah, they've gone. They've now solidified. This week's game.
Yeah, they're starting to get more consistency.
That's right. They're a bit Jekyll and Hyde, and I just thought, I really thought out of everyone, sort of at that 6 and 5 mark, outside of the Tigers who've had their issues, I thought they were the ones that I probably would have the least faith in. But now that's a bit different now. We've given our last load of teams a C. We now come to 9th place, which was the Cowboys. They were 8 wins, 5 losses, no buys, differential of 13. Griffo, where'd you have the Cowboys?
Well, it's interesting you say that, Shane, because we've just talked about the Dolphins and the Sharks after round 15, 8 and 5. And that's where the Cowboys were 2 weeks ago. And I gave them a B. I gave them a B too. 8 and 5. I mean, they had a better win.
8 and 5.
Like, the Roosters were 7 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
And they were coming 3rd at that stage. Cowboys coming 9th.
Well, the Cowboys were 9th.
Top 8.
That's right. So if you gave them, just say the Cowboys had 2 buys, they would have been on equal points with the Warriors.
Yeah, well, I don't like the buys. I like to see the buys disappear. I don't think they will, even though we'll have an even number.
Did I tell you I actually emailed the NRL about last year? I think I said it on the podcast. Last year before. I emailed the NRL and I said we do a podcast on the NRL and talk about buys. And I got a reply. And you know why they do? You know why they do 2 points for a buy? Because if they didn't do 2 points for a buy, they'd have to go to a win-loss percentage system, and they said that the average NRL fan wouldn't like it.
And I probably agree with that.
Yeah, so they said rather than go to a win-loss...
Is that what they do in the AFL? Or?
Yes, in the end.
I know they don't award... All I know is they don't award points for the buy.
No, that's effectively what they do, and in the NFL too. So basically what you start doing is you start looking at your win-loss ratio, which I don't mind. So if you didn't have 2 points for the buy, even though you've had a buy, you look at a win-loss percentage.
Yeah.
And then they said the Australian public or the rugby league public wouldn't understand that, so we just do 2 points for a buy.
No, I think there's some truth in that, by the way, but what they do understand is at the end of the year...
Maybe this is way back when... I don't know. I remember I did email them.
I don't remember you mentioning that, but...
Yeah, maybe it was a while ago.
Sometimes I do forget things, but... Cowboys B at that stage, even though they're in 9th spot, and we had 3 teams above them getting a C. I think that's more of a reflection of the vagaries of the draw and all that sort of thing, which after round 27, well, that's all out the window because everything's equal.
An interesting tidbit, you've actually got teams, I think after this week, have had their 3 buys.
Yeah. not ideal, but
No, my team's one of them.
yeah. Right.
Then again, they had a good run with buys last year and squandered.
They did.
So
Yeah.
that was, that's what happens. Yeah, I had him a B2. In 10th place, 6 wins, 5 losses. They had a -10 differential. Was the West Tigers. Griffo, what did you have him?
Yeah, they're a C.
Yeah, I had him a C.
Slightly above 50%. We just talked about ratios and whatnot, but I thought that they were really good at the start of the year. They put in some really nice performances. There was a big game against a weakened Broncos team that they should have won. That may still bite them on the rear end come the end of the season, because they're in that mid-table area. Only 8 go through. Their for and against is not good. It wasn't too bad back then, even though they're in the negative. But that was before the 68-0 hammering.
Yeah, they're minus 70 now.
No, they are, and that's a
long way to make that up.
In an even competition. It's not where you want to be. But where they do want to be is mid-table as opposed to bottom four. And that was a massive win last week to get to come from behind. I didn't think they were going to win last week, but and when I went out, when I left here, Gold Coast were looking pretty good. We're able to hang on. But credit to the Tigers for that. Credit to the Tigers for overall this year. They've done quite well. Injuries have cruelled them severely. A team that doesn't have massive depth cannot afford to lose quality players. The likes of Samuel Fainu, Adam DeWahey, Corey Sowers out suspended. Taylor May is in and out with a busted shoulder. They can't bring in players of equal quality or anywhere near it. And consequently, they slid down the ladder. I think at one stage they might have been in the top 4.
Yeah.
That's where depth makes a difference. I don't think they're going to make the 8. Because they're still missing important players, and I just don't think that they can afford. They have to have pretty much the best team on the park to be able to win most games. And but I do credit them last week. I thought that was the end of their season.
There was tenacity there, and I know a lot of people talk about certain decisions, mate. I thought that was one of the most tenacious games they'd played in a long time. I'm with you. I have them as a C. I like looking at a lot of the junior leagues as well. The problem with the Tigers is they've got their next sort of tier down. You've either got very, very young players who aren't ready, or old players who you wouldn't put in the first grade. So when you talk about their depth, you're 100% correct. They are developing. Some of those guys just aren't there yet. And I think for the Tigers, the players they got running around on the park, I think what Benji's done is he's given them, I'm not going to say belief. Belief's not the right word, but he's given them a sense of tenacity where they, just to fight for it. Just get in the fight for a minute. And I thought last week that's where they were good against the Titans. They got into the fight. So,
Unfortunately, they lost another really good player. It looks like Kai Pierce-Paul's out for the season with a pec injury.
Yeah, Kai Pierce-Paul is...
that's a big loss.
That's a loss because that's very hard to plug that hole. In 11th on 12 points... 5 wins, 7 losses. You have the Brisbane Broncos, and they got a -61 differential. Griffo, what'd you have the Broncos at?
Well, at that stage, I had them at a C. 5 wins, 7 losses, as you said, is not really bad. I mean, it's not good, particularly for a club like the reigning premiers, but it's not a disaster. Not a good differential, a minus 61, but I had them sort of scraping into a C. Again, affected by injuries. They actually won some games, I think, against the Bulldogs and the Tigers, where they were, a second string side almost. And I thought, gee, that's really important, because when they get their players back, that's going to be the difference. Might get them in the top 4. Well, unfortunately for the Broncos, as looking 2 weeks further along, and they got beat by the 2 bottom teams, and then they had a loss against the Rabbitohs. They got smashed, so they're heading south, and I think, well, I can't see them making the 8, given the logjam of teams ahead of them. But at that point, a C. If I was doing it today, it would be a D. But
I had them then. I had them a D.
Fair enough.
5 and 7, and I said, if they were 5 and 7, and their differential was like the Tigers minus 10, I would have said, yep, okay. My biggest problem is they're 3-13 defensive. That's 24 points a game back then. They'd actually had a bye, so that's more. Across 13 rounds, 3-13 is 24 points. They're actually plus 24 points. Conceding that, I just don't think that's. I don't think that's at a point where that's not average. You can't concede that many, considering their 4 is 252. I had them as a D. I couldn't. Yeah, I just think that 5 and 7. You're looking at a C. Yep, sure, maybe not. It was the 3-13 against, where I just thought, wow, that's. You got to score a lot of points. If you're letting in over 24 points a game, you've got to score a lot of points to win. And they're just not doing that. I've got them a D. And the team below them helped me sort of drive that as well, because in 12th place, on 12 points with 5 wins, 7 losses, differential of minus 72 to 49 for 321 against, is the Raiders. Griff, where'd you have the Raiders?
Yeah, I gave them a C as well. Very similar stats to the Broncos. A little bit worse with a minus 72, but again, like I said, 5 and 7 is not diabolical. They've gone further down the ladder since. They had 2 more losses and their season's over. When will it be pressure on Ricky? I don't know. He has a charmed life because he's got a lot of mates in the media. He doesn't seem to get the scrutiny that some other coaches get. This team were the minor premiers last year. I really thought they'd be up there again this year. They should have been in the grand final. Some bad luck, or whatever you want to call it. The Broncos beat them. The Raiders thought they had it won twice, only to see tries disallowed. Whether that's had a lingering effect, I don't know. But what I do know is that with a very similar team, they did lose Fogarty, and obviously that's made a bit of a difference.
Well, look at the club he's gone to, and what they've been able to do.
Yeah,
But essentially, pretty much the same team with the Colonel stepping in for the Fogue, the old Fogue. But yeah, I gave him a C at that stage. And I think I know what's coming from you.
Yeah, I gave him a D. It's for the same reason I gave Broncos a D. I just look at their for and against. I look at their, especially the against column. 321. It's and I just think the ability to score points and the ability to stop points is so important. And if they were 5-7 and the differential was close, I'd give them a C. It's just not close. They're just letting in, like, their defense is diabolical, and in actual fact, their ability to score points has waned. Yeah, they're just. I've got them at a D. The Melbourne Storm was below them. 5 wins, 8 losses, no buys at that stage. 3-14-4 against 3-18 against, -4 differential. Griff, where'd you have these guys?
Yeah, this is where I brought the D out.
Mm-hmm.
They were really poor. I know, some big injuries really. Eli Katoa, who has been out all year, and with that injury, is going to be out all year. We don't know if he's going to play again.
I doubt it.
I tend to probably think along your line there. It's not worth it. Your health is got to be paramount. But we saw it with Tamari Martin, had a brain injury, was out for 3 years, came back. He got clearance, and I certainly hope for the young man that he's able to do that. But that's had an impact on them. The other one is Xavier Coates hasn't played all year and re-injured. I think it's the Achilles. He's out for the season as well. And both of those guys were key elements of why they've been successful over the last few years. Coates, with his aerial supremacy, was a go-to for them to get a nice, easy try. No tries easy, but he's a man who is tall and jumps well and catches well, which results in a lot of tries. And they've lost that point of attack, so badly affected by those guys being out. But for the majority of the year, they've had the new big three of Munster, Jerome Hughes and Harry Grant on the field, plus Suafar Longo has been outstanding ball in hand. So, but they are making a bit of a charge now. They're now 6-8. At the time, they were 5-8, but they've moved up the ladder. I do feel that at the time, a D was warranted because there were some games where they were very, very poor.
Yeah, I was tossing up between a C and a D, only because I thought, but defense, like, you can score all the points you want, you have to defend. They have not defended well. I gave them a D as well. I really felt that there was, earlier on this year, there were times where their defense looked like Swiss cheese. There was holes everywhere. It really was. It really was. And we see the players for them play for the Queensland team at the moment, and I've said for years, is this the year where the Storm don't have the venom that they once had? Maybe that's what's happening. I don't know. I gave them a D. In 14th place on 10 points, we've got the Dogs, 4 wins, 8 losses, 1 bye. 2-19 for, 3-18 against. That's a -99. That's massive. Yeah, I know what you. I think I know what you're going to give him, Griff. What'd you say?
I gave him a D.
So did I.
They've been poor. They had that win against the Panthers that no other team has been able to achieve, which obviously was the highlight of their year. But they're been a shadow of the team that was atop the ladder for a fair slice of 2025. They did make the finals, only to go out in straight sets, and they really haven't shown too much this year. They got a win last time around against the Eels in quite possibly one of the worst games of rugby league you could have the displeasure of watching. But they got the 2 points. That's important.
Mm-hmm.
That will keep them with a bit of hope around making the finals, but I just can't see them doing that again. They're in that. Well, they're not. They're behind the Tigers by 4 points currently.
Mm-hmm.
That can be made up, but you've also got to go past other teams to get there. And I just can't see them winning that many games.
They've only improved their differential by 2. They're at minus 97.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think they had a bye as well as the
they've
game,
got to like, you know, like I look at the, you know, if you want to look at the some of the teams above them, that you know, you sort of say, okay, well, at the moment the Bunnies are on the rounding out the 8, positive 86. Like you're going to have to get there on points, not differential.
Absolutely, yeah. I just can't see them winning that many
hard.
games.
And you've had 2 buys too, by the way. So yeah, it's they've got a massive road ahead.
I don't even consider them a chance at the 8.
No. Below them is the Eels. They're on 10 points, 4 wins, 8 losses. They had 1 bye at that stage. They're I'm going to say round 13. I couldn't believe this when I was watching it. Their defense was worse than the Dragons. In round 13, the Dragons had conceded 393 points. The Eels had conceded 407 at a minus 150.
Yeah.
Where'd you have them?
I don't know what the maths is on 407 by 12.
Where'd you have them?
I gave them a D. They had 4 wins. Like, that's a 33% win ratio. That's not diabolical either. It's not good, but they had some decent wins in games they weren't expected to win, and the flip side of that was they lost some games they were expected to win, such as against the Titans. It might have been the Titans' first victory of the year. They've been cruelled quite severely by injury. Again, another team that's not blessed with great NRL quality depth. They've got apparently some really good players coming through. Some of them have been blooded in recent weeks. But we were expecting better things from the Eels this year. I had them just outside the 8 before the season started. We know they won the Witzer Cup or whatever it's called. I just wish they'd get rid of the preseason games completely. But that's another issue. But as far as the season's gone, they'll be disappointed because their expectations would have been to make the 8, and they're far from that. It's not going to happen. But again, as I said, injuries have been an issue for them.
I almost gave him an E. I didn't. I gave him a D. I just looked at that. They did not care defensively at some stage, and it's, yeah, their for and against was their against tally was woeful, and look, they've got the back end of the season to make it look respectable, but it's today they still have the worst defense, and I think I was looking at it. I think from memory it was about 34, 36 points a game. That's just that's diabolical. You don't score that. Teams would be cheering if they scored that many, and they're letting them in. On the other hand, you got the team below them at this point in time, which was the Gold Coast Titans. Now they were on 8 points. They were basically on 2 wins, 9 losses, but 192-4. Their against column was 280. To go to the next best defense above them, you're looking at the Dolphins,
Sharks,
who were sitting at 7. I think the Sharks had 282.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
So 239 was the best. That goes to show that their defense was intact. They just couldn't score points. For that reason, I had them as a D. But geez, now that they're starting to score points, if they can keep their defensive record, who knows what? Not for this year, but maybe for years to come. I had them as a D. I know a lot of people say 2 and 9. What's an E? I just thought I genuinely thought their defense that warranted something, considering the defense of those above them.
No, I respect your right, Shane, to give him a D, but I don't agree with you.
You gave him a D? Yeah, I get it.
Oh, absolutely. 2 and 9.
2 and 9, yeah.
And that's the bottom line.
That's right.
Okay, you can say the defense wasn't too bad, and that's true, but it wasn't good enough to win them games. So
no, fair call.
But look, I'm not going to. It's not an argument. It's just an opinion. I think 2 and 9's dreadful.
It's not great.
They of course did since that time record a win against the Broncos, but weren't good enough to beat the Tigers when really they should have.
I'm with you. I think that was a game that got away.
Yeah, and I can't see them overtaking too many teams. I can see them winning more games because they've actually got firepower there, and that's the surprising thing. We talked about their attack being the issue statistically.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, they made a big difference in the last 2 games. They've scored over 50 points, but we're doing it from round 13, and they've got guys. We talked about Kinney earlier, and they've got Campbell, they've got AJ Brimson, Jojo Fifita. Sami's been great for them this year. Like, they shouldn't have too many troubles scoring tries because they've got a lot of good attacking weapons. But and I don't think Hane's done a bad job with them, even though they really haven't gone up the ladder as they would have hoped. I do like the halfback they've now got. I think that backline's now pretty settled. And I do expect they'll win more games. I don't know how many ladder spots they can jump, though.
No.
But I'll be really surprised if, they will go. I would go past the Raiders or the Broncos. They might skip the Eels, but they'd have to win quite a few games to do that. I don't think the Dragons will go past them. I think the Dragons look a good thing for the Spoon. But there's a long way to go. But speaking of the Dragons, Shano, you want to run us?
Yes, the Dragons. Well, they were on 4 points. They were 1 win, 11 losses, won by 172 for 393 against, a massive 221 against. They were my bottom E. Their year has been diabolical. I know they got their win. I can't remember a year where I looked at a club and thought, maybe the last time South Sydney got the spoon. I just looked at a team and went, wow. You guys, like winning will be a fluke. And it just significantly feels that way for the Dragons, Griff.
Yeah, they did have that great game against the Broncos, but they came close in game one. They should have won that game over in Vegas. They just didn't know how. They were in position several times to break the deadlock, but just couldn't do it. Against the Bulldogs over in Vegas, and the Bulldogs, we know they haven't exactly been setting the world on fire. It was an E. Nothing. You can't have anything but an E when you're 1 win, 11 losses. Better things ahead, though.
100%.
They are bringing in some really good players next year.
Yeah.
Who are going to improve the attack.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
We better go through some games. Just incidentally, love a bit of junior footy. It's Thursday night
I don't
here,
know
guys.
The score. Yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah, are you watching it?
Watch it after. No, I'm gonna play it later. I don't know the score.
Okay, I'm not going to give it away. But there is a under-19s game on at the moment.
North Sydney Oval. It's not far from where I am.
It's at North Sydney Oval. If you're someone who was not sure that this game was on, jump on and maybe get a replay, because I guarantee I remember one of the first under-19 games I actually went to and watched. And it was, I can't remember if I went to it off my own back or whether it was before an Origin game. And, the players that were playing, one of the first under-19 sides I went to watch, Latrell Mitchell and people like that were playing. So, don't dismiss that kind of rugby league. It's a good watch.
They used to play them at Panthers Stadium. For a few years in a row.
That
actually,
might have been maybe that's where I saw them. I don't know. I do like it, and I think honestly, I think the NRL needs to look at that whole 19 to 21 age gap to maybe see what they can do there. But that's just my thinking.
They used to play a few different age groups, Shane.
They did.
They used to have the 18s and the 20s. Now they just have the 19s, which
they do.
I'd like to see them go back to a couple of
I hate the thought process that came out about 8 years ago, where if you haven't made it by 19, are you going to make it? And I'm thinking, let's just have a look. No, sorry, if you haven't made it by 21, I really think an under 21's Origin would be a phenomenal watch. It would be a really good game to watch, and you'd see people, mix of NRL and fringe players. I really think that would be a good thing to watch. But we'll go through some.
The clubs wouldn't like that, Shane.
Clubs would hate it.
A lot of guys.
Clubs would hate it, which is why maybe we need to
in first grade.
Which is maybe why we need to get a standalone 2 weeks.
Yeah.
No rugby league. Let's play Origin without NRL being affected. We've only been saying it since about 1980. Hopefully it might happen. On Friday at 8 o'clock at McDonald Jones Stadium, we see the Newcastle Knights taking on the St George Illawarra Dragons. It's going to be Origin affected for the Knights, and of course Callum Ponga is out. He has not been named. Massive in for them though. Bradman Best has been named. He is named in the starting lineup, so you'd think he would probably be somewhat ready to go. Sandon Smith on an extended bench for them as well. for the.
I think the reason for that is he's injured.
He is injured, yeah.
So otherwise he'd be there.
That's right, and I think they've just thrown him there to see what happens. Jaden Stewart
just in case, yeah.
Jason Stewart is out. Luciano Leilua has been named for the Dragons on an interchange, but it's looking at the two teams. We talked about a team that has a game plan versus a team that may not have one. It's the Newcastle Knights at the moment. They're flying. What a great time to be playing the St George Illawarra Dragons. They're still lost. They don't really have the guns to fire. A big shout out to Damien Cook. I really feel that even in their losses, he's a guy that's tried to run our dummy half. He's making a bucket load of tackles. He's the captain. He's leading from the front. Gutho, well, take him or leave him at the moment. It's really a struggle for this club. The Knights, they're a club that are looking finals bound. They want to be finals bound. They have to win these games. And you know what? This is where you dump points. This is where you need to score tries, do it well. I'm looking for Bradman Best to come back into this side and play some very good football. I've got the Knights winning this and winning this one well, Griff.
Yeah, I can't disagree with anything you said. It's expected that they win. The Dragons have only sung the team song once all year. They had to get some paper out to read what it was. But the Knights at home, I'm going to be tipping them here, and even without their main man in Kalen Ponga, there's still plenty of firepower. And as you said, welcome back Bradman Best this week. So it's there's plenty of speed, plenty of ability, and they've got guns that the Dragons simply don't have.
Yeah, that's the way it is for them. On 3 p.m. on Saturday, 20th of June, Campbelltown Sports Stadium in Sydney, we see the West Tigers taking on the Redcliffe Dolphins. I suppose if you're looking at your team list, you're going to see at the top of it Adam DeWahey in on an extended bench. It'd be interesting to see if he gets his way into the team, if he's fit enough. Api Coruscant will be there. Makasini is in on the interchange bench for the Dolphins. They're not playing now unless I'm missing something. Max Plath is in, so that's one in. But basically,
Hammer wasn't there.
Their Origin, Hammer is out. So that's a really interesting move. Understandable, probably feel like a bit of a break is needed when you got Herbie Farnworth in at centres, doing what he's doing. Nikarima, Katoa, Trey Fuller at fullback, doing some great things. Bostock and Asako as well. Their forward pack, Kafusi Molo has been doing really well. Tyrell May, I'd be looking for a big game from him. Api Coruscant, if he can lead from the front, I really struggled to pick this game. And you think, well, why wouldn't you pick the Dolphins? They're doing the Dolphin thing. I look at the fact that if Adam DeWahey gets promoted to the starting lineup, that changes a lot for me. I don't think he will, which is why I've got the Dolphins winning this one, Griff.
Yeah, I can't see anything but a Dolphins win here. It'd be a big win for the Tigers. Keep them certainly in contention for the 8. Even though the Dolphins are missing the hammer, I just still think there's they bring in Trey Fuller, who's a very good player.
Yeah, good player.
You got Bostock, Farnworth in the centres. both very dangerous. And you've got Isaiah Katoa, who's pulling the strings, and he's pretty handy.
Yep.
I think he's the smartest guy out on the field. Appy is a very smart footballer as well, but I just think the Dolphins are on a bit of a roll, and I think they're going to jump through the hoop down. Is it Campbelltown, this one?
It is.
Yes. Yeah, Dolphins to win.
The next game at 5:30 at Seabus Super Stadium sees the Gold Coast Titans take on your mob, the Penny Panthers. You've got Jojo Fafita coming in. Lachlan Elias is in on an interchange role. You've got Big Tino. He's named. I question.
I can't believe that they would do that.
I question. I would not play him. And this is no disrespect to the Titans. You're not going to win. So you know who I'm picking. What? Just give them a break.
They probably think they are a chance of winning because Penrith will rest their players. And they think,
I know they. Yes, I know
might
that.
Tino will rest next time.
Let me just go through the side. You know, Dylan Edwards, Jenkins, Tago, Gardner, Alamotti, Talangi, Cogger, Leota Lussick, Liam Henry, Papali'i, Liam Martin, and Lindsay Smith. I know. Look, Keanu Kinney, and you talked about Keanu Kinney earlier. I get it. I just think that there's big. Maybe they're at the point in their NRL journey where they can't afford to anymore. They have to play him. He had a big game the other day.
But not just physically. I mean,
emotionally, it was he was playing.
Let him have a rest. Let him have a rest. Tell him to have a rest.
Anyway. Big Tino's got a heart as big as Farlap too. So Fodder Wake as the captain. I've got the Penrith Panthers winning this one regardless. But geez, you know what? Yeah, I think for longevity. Look, I don't care. Let Tino play. Let him get tired, and hopefully the next game for the Maroons he's buggered. But yeah, I really think that the Penrith Panthers, regardless of who's in or out, will win this one, Griff.
Yeah, I don't think that way. Look, I do think they're going to win, but I'm concerned about this game, knowing what the Titans are capable of in attack. Because I look at this Penrith backline, I know there's still some handy players there, but they're missing Casey McLean, and he is a big weapon that's out. I can't see a world where Nathan Cleary will play in this game. They've talked; it's been sort of made known that he's got a hip pointer injury. He's had it for some time, and he's been playing fantastic. Not so well the other night, but his club form and his form in game one were brilliant. So he gets needled up, which apparently you can do with this injury, and there's no way they're going to play him. Isaiah Yeo, they're not going to play.
They don't have to.
I doubt that. Well,
you know what I mean. Like
I agree with that for Yeo. I don't think they'll do it, but I would like to see Brian To'o take the field.
Yeah, I get that. I do understand that. Like, yeah.
I think they need Alamotti in the centres. He is probably their biggest weapon in the outside backs with Casey McLean not there. I just think Garner's solid, but if you've got Luke Garner in the centres, probably not going to – your attack is going to not be as good as it could be. Solid player. I really always want Luke Garner to be part of the 17. I just think they look a bit limited in weaponry in the back line without Cleary. Cogger's a good player. Blaze Talongi's going to have to step up. He's been good this year, but he's going to have to go to a bit of a higher level. The last time they played without the Origin guys, Dylan Edwards was amazing. And he'll need to be again. I think the pack it's a good pack that they've got. The only guy that's going to be missing is the captain, Isaiah Yeo. But with Leota, Henry up front, and then you got a rotation with Scott Sorensen, and depending on how they want to use Lindsay Smith, he's listed at 13. You could bring on Billy Phillips at 13 and play Lindsay Smith up front as well. Papali'i has been brilliant this year. Liam Martin is back. He'll want to put his best foot forward because there's a possibility he could get back in the blue side, but not just that he's a competitor. They need him to step up here. And I think the Penrith Panthers have got the advantage in the forwards, because I don't think Tino will play, but even if he does, I still think the Panthers have got an edge in the forwards. I think the Titans have got an edge in the backs, as it appears. That's why I'd like to see Tottenham take the field. I am still going to tip Penrith, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Panthers rest all their guys. It wouldn't surprise me if the Titans are able to get a win. But I'm not going to tip them. I'm going to tip Penrith, and I hope Penrith win.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that yes, I think that Penrith have got this one at 7:35 at Accor Stadium. This is on Saturday. We have the Bulldogs of the Canterbury Bankstown Kind taking on the Manly Warringah Seagulls. I love it when two teams of double barrel names join each other and play. Look, there's not a lot of changes for these two sides. Ethan Bullymore in Tom Trbojevic in Kurt Mann. He is named on the actual number 9. So he is there. So this is interesting. Look, I look at these two sides and I just think you've got a team playing with absolute confidence versus a team that's not. You've got a team that seems to have some sort of player at the moment versus a team who's trying to do. The Dogs for me look like this ad-lib football side that just don't know what they're doing. I've got the Seagulls winning this one. They might actually win it really well, but it's going to be for me Matt Burton and Lockie Galvin. This combination has to fire. If this combination doesn't fire by now, I think they've got to start looking at something different. They've got to start thinking, do we put Burton in the centres and promote someone else? Do we what's the issue here? Because the Burton Galvin scenario, it's just not producing the dividends that they want. It'll be interesting to see the way Crichton plays this week. Some rumblings on whether he will play. So be interesting to see. If he's not there, the Dogs are cooked.
I think they're cooked anyway.
If he's there, they're cooked anyway. That was exactly my line. So yeah, I got the Seagulls winning this one. Good play.
Shano, I do apologise that I was a little bit lost in my thoughts because for most of while you were talking about the Bulldogs, I saw that their hooker was a man, and I was trying to think, what is the term for a hooker that is a man? Eventually, I worked it. It's a gigolo.
Gigolo.
Is that correct?
Yes, the gigolo.
So the gigolo's there.
Juice Bigelow.
The man hooker.
Good old Juice Bigelow.
Yeah, indeed. So we've got a new nickname for Kurt Mann. He's now the gigolo.
He's now Juice Bigelow, the male gigolo.
Yeah, man hooker. So there we are. I spent a few minutes trying to think, what are they called? Now, that aside, I sort of gave away what my thoughts were when I said that they will cook whether or not Crichton plays. Manly close to full strength or as close to full strength as they're going to be with the guy that used to be at the Roosters. Mental block. It'll come back to me. But the prop, Takiaho, he's out for, I think, the season. But apart from him, they're also...
Takiaho's gone.
Yeah. Falaulo will be back. He's been so good for him.
I think Takiaho, like, late finals at best.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Effectively, this is what they've got. Clayton Falaulo, who's been great. He will come back. I think he did a hamstring. But he'll be back. But they bring back Turbo. And I mentioned before that the side's been firing without Turbo. So they've got another level to go to. I think they're going to do a bit of a job on the Dogs. Big Hamoli's been rested. He didn't play the other night. I just don't see where the Dogs can win this game. But the shining light for the Dogs is Satili Tupanua. He is a guy that has been inspirational for them. He's filling in. They're missing, of course, Preston and big Billy Kickow in the back row. Again, even if they were playing, I still think the Manly going too well. So I'm tipping Manly pretty confident on this one. And when I say something like that, it's probably I might have to have some of that humble pie that was being made for Laurie Daly. But I think Manly here, Shane.
Yeah. 2:00 on Sunday at One New Zealand Stadium in Christchurch. It sees the New Zealand Warriors take on the North Queensland Cowboys. Kurt Capewell, Luke Metcalf, Mitch Barnett, Rocco Berry, Sam Healy in for the Warriors. The Cowboys, I suppose Braden Burns in, Jeremiah Nanai, John Bateman, Bolo. He is on an extended bench with Bateman. The Warriors are a very, very accomplished rugby league side. They're second on the ladder. They're doing some really good things. I really think that what the coach has done has said, regardless of who's injured, regardless of who's not in the team, you have a role and you have to complete that role. And if you don't complete that role, we lose. I've got them winning this one for that one reason, is that the Cowboys to me are a bit of a tapestry of players at times who want to dip in and out of games, where the Warriors, they seem to know the brief. At times they don't execute it, at times they don't nail it, but they don't stray from it. And I think against a team like the Cowboys, they're going to win this and win this pretty well, Griff. I've got the Warriors. Who do you have?
Yeah, I'm on the Warriors as well. They're still missing a few guys, the Warriors.
They are, yes, they are.
Still missing their captain, Fisher Harris. We know that Boyd's out for the season. Metcalf sits on sort of an extended bench. But I think they'd be very happy with what Tamari Martin's been doing over the last few weeks. They lost last time round. I don't think they're going to want to. Well, obviously they're not going to want to lose 2 in a row. But the Cowboys on paper look a good team.
I agree with you. I looked at them on paper and thought, ooh.
Nanai's back is a big in. Still missing Dearden, but plenty of firepower in that back line. Their last game, from memory, they weren't real good. I just think the Warriors at home, they went down narrowly to the Sharks in a really high-quality game. I think they'll get over the top of the Cowboys. But the Cowboys are a team with their attacking flair that could trouble them. And as I said, that back row of Lukey, Nanai, and Cotter, that looks pretty good.
Yep.
So we'll see. But we will. So I'm just looking at the Warriors. They've got Laban, and Niokore in the back row. Missing is just Leka Halasima. He doesn't seem to be there at all.
Yeah.
Must be injured.
Yes.
So Leka the Wrecker out, Fisher Harris out. But the thing about the Warriors is that a big advantage they have is depth. That someone goes out and they don't really skip a beat because they can put someone in of almost equal quality.
I think that's Webster's. I think that's Webster's magic, where he gives them a job to do, and they just complete the job, and that's why they are where they are. Oop, hang on. Yeah. So,
are you all right?
Yep, all good. That's where they are. Sorry.
Oh.
I thought something on my Zoom. Sorry guys. I thought my the recording was going a bit wayward, but it was all good. I suppose we talk about the next game. 4:05 on Sunday sees the Melbourne Storm taking on the Canberra Raiders. Now I'm going to go through the Storm side because if you talk about the ins, it won't matter because they had the bye. So Farlongo, Warbrick, Howarth, Chan, Leo, Munster, Hughes. Harry Grant is playing this week, so he's named. Liero is playing, he's named. So there's some big players named for the Storm. Tyron Wishart is number 19. A lot of who they've named is on their extended bench. For the Raiders, Ethan Strange is going to play. Hudson Young is going to play. So you've got their 5'8", and Hudson Young in at second row. So I look at these two teams, and you know what I'm looking at? What unfolded the other night, and the way that people like Harry Grant and Cameron Munster played. The Raiders have been a bit of a shambles, and I know that we can talk about the Storm and how they haven't quite aimed up this year either, but I really feel like it's. I think the Storm are a team that can be on the rise, where I can't say that for the Canberra Raiders. I've got the Storm winning this one, and if the Raiders aren't careful, they might win it well.
Fair call. I had a shocker last week with my tipping. I got one right. That was the Rabbitohs, and then
good on
it was
you.
just. It's not real good. I haven't even.
No, you picked the Bunnies. That's okay.
Yeah. Well.
No, everyone.
Whatever.
I tell you, can I give you a hot tip? I don't think many people had a good round last week when I looked at it.
I haven't. I've not looked. I just thought I don't want to see that, but I wasn't going real good anyway. But then I just went south further. I'm going for an upset here. I'm going for the Raiders.
Griff.
Yeah, I thought I did this. I did my tips without seeing the teams.
No, I like it.
Oh, I don't. It's just I'm sort of. I'm going to go for a couple upsets. This is the last throw of the dice, I think, for the Raiders. They lose this, then
their season's gone.
Their season's over. And look, they could win and still not make the 8, but they've lost against teams that they shouldn't have, including in the last game the Parramatta Eels. That's a big loss, because the Eels aren't real good. But I'm tipping the Raiders. I'm giving them. I'm looking at the speed they've got. I think for that Eels game, they didn't have Strange and Hudson Young. They're back in. On paper, they look good. I still don't understand why Jaden Braley is wearing 13. Obviously, they do have injuries, but maybe I'd have Morgan Smithies in there, but
Mm.
yeah, not that it's going to make too much difference, but they've got to win. I'm really surprised that the Storm continue to not rest Munster and or Harry Grant. I guess they're feeling the same way, that every game is a must win, and we're just going to keep playing them. And if we move up the ladder, then down the track they can have a rest. But I don't think it's wise. Anyway, what does it matter? Well, I think Craig Bellamy knows his stuff. I was giving an opinion.
I agree with you.
I tip the Raiders, and
I think at what
probably
point,
not.
you don't. It's okay if you're going to start winning games at the back end of the season. Burnout is not what you want. So at 6:15 on Sunday, so it's a late game on Sunday. Sees the Sydney Roosters taking on the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. In for the Roosters, James Tedesco, Lindsay Collins, Mark Nawanda Nikawase, Reece Robson, Robert Toyer, Sam Walker, Victor Radley. They're named as, and I know if you look at the Roosters team, they've named more reserves than you can poke a stick at. Most teams just name 3, they've named 5. I don't know whether that's because they're the Roosters.
Oh, it's because of the Origin.
Yeah,
I know that they had so many people backing up. So,
for the Sharks, if you looked at the ins, you'd see Fanua Blake, Brayley, Nakora, Hines, and Stone Street. But what you have to understand is on the extended bench is Stone Street, Brayley, and Hines. They would be subject to the captain's run. I haven't heard anything from this team yet to say that they would be promoted or demoted. So it's Thursday night here. Not too sure how that's all going to play out. They all could play or they all could not. Which probably brings me to the fact, if I'm gonna do my tips as if they're not. Look at where they're being put. They would drop off the bench and they won't play. If that's the case, considering that the Roosters are going to back up all their Origin players, I've got the Roosters winning this one. This is going to be one of those things where, for a lot of tipping comps, you're going to have to put your tips in tomorrow, and you're going to have to, lock them in. On what I've seen of the starting lineups, I've got the Roosters winning this one, Griff. If any of these Roosters players decide they can't play from Origin, and those 3 get promoted, it could be a Sharks win. Either way, I think at 6:15 on Sunday, this could be match of the round. So good way to finish the round, good way to finish your weekend, to watch some good football. But I'm going to pick the Roosters in this, Griff.
I'm going for the upset again. I'm tipping the Sharks.
Yep,
it's look, if I wasn't in the position I was in, I was thinking, well, I'm actually a bit of a chance of going all right with the tip, and I would pick the Roosters as a safe option. But I'm throwing the dice. The Sharks have actually found form. I probably don't think they're going to win, but I give them a good chance. Roosters have been up and down. When they're at their best, they really literally can beat anyone, but they're not always at their best. On paper, they look very, very strong, and should win the game, and probably will, but I'm still tipping the Sharks. If they can replicate what they've been doing, particularly that game against the Warriors, would have given them a lot of confidence. It was a really tough game, and that's the sort of style that traditionally we've known from the Sharks when they've been at their best. I'm sure Fanua Blake will play. Only played very small minutes. I'm not sure about Brayley and Hines because they're coming back from injury, but I'm sure they'll want to play. And if Blake Brayley is right to go, he will add a lot to this team. They always seem to name Beryl at hooker and he never starts. So I don't know why they do that. They start with Hohipa Puru every week at hooker, even though Beryl wears the 9. But I'm sure they would love to trot out Blake Brayley. And if they do, then that's going to enhance the chances of winning.
Yeah, I look, Griff, I can totally understand it. Roosters for me at home, but yeah, I really, I've got to see what teams take the field, and I'll put my tips in, but I think an hour before kickoff, depending on what either side puts out there, could dictate what's going on. And I don't know if I know the Sharks seem the upset, but at 5:15 when teams are announced, it may not be. Griffo, thanks for your tips this week. Thanks for everything you've done. Any closing thoughts on?
Just one thing I want to mention that happened during the week. Last week, we saw former NRL player Kane Evans.
Yep.
I just wish the guy well. Like,
so do
I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. What your preference is in that field. I just want you to be happy and healthy, and he was really on Skid Row. But fortunately, he had some people help him out. Got to give credit to the Roosters and to their coach.
Oh, Robson
went into his own pocket to pay his rent because he was homeless. Like, what a story. Could have been so much worse. And you mentioned the old under 20s games. I remember seeing Kane Evans at Penrith Park come out for the Blues and they won that game, and he was very, very good. Had a good NRL career, played for Fiji, I'm just happy that things have worked out well for him. As I said, I don't care. You are what you are. Just live life and be happy.
I saw it, and I was talking to someone. I said, no human being deserves to feel lonely. Furthermore, no human being deserves to feel isolated. And if he now doesn't feel lonely and isolated, then that's a good thing. I wish him. And you know what? I wish everyone in this situation all the best. I really do. And I can't believe we still live in a world where you've got to be brave to say who you are. Like, it bewilders me that you are brave, and the people who do this are brave. And I just wish, I hope for a day where it's another conversation, and this is the way I am, and that's the way it is, rather than the stigma and everything attached to it. So
I'm not for advocating do this, do that, etc., etc. It's just you're a human being,
100%,
and I want human beings to be healthy, happy, and continue to breathe.
That's right. I want everyone to flourish, and if you can flourish, then that's a good thing. And it's amazing. Like you know, and if flourishing means you've got to get help, get help. If flourishing means,
Yeah.
you know, you do what you need to do to flourish. And I, you know me, I'm a bit of a hippie. I love sowing the seeds of good energy. If you can sow the seeds of good energy and defeat all the seeds of bad energy, that's a good thing. And that's what we need. I think that's a really
well, thank you, Shane, for
Griffo.
and sorry, I actually don't think at the start of the program I welcomed you back.
No. That's. I'm sure you did. You did before.
Wonderful.
You did.
Well, I did before we came
Yeah,
on.
no. It was a brilliant trip. It was
great to hear that you had such a wonderful time.
It was fantastic
in your, one of your homelands.
Yep.
And I've known you for many years, and you're very proud of your heritage. It's not just being proud of it, but you've lived it. You speak the language. It's a difficult language to speak, but you can speak it.
Not as well as I thought, but I do speak.
Well, but I guess that's just to know that how important it is to you.
To anyone, I'm gonna give everyone a bit of a lesson here. I've wanted to go to Holland or Netherlands I actually got accepted to study there, and I just couldn't get there. It happened when I was at uni, and it was the pinnacle of my trip was to stand outside the house my grandparents and my mum, lived in Breda. And if anyone ever questions whether they should see their roots or see where they're from, I've gone back to India, to the village where my wife's family's from, and again, it's been such a phenomenal experience, and they live there, they know people there, but it's something where, and I know, like you, Griffo, with Malta,
I've done I've done the exact same thing.
It's
gone to the house where,
and I don't mean to sound disrespectful here, and I hope what I say isn't controversial. I don't mean it to be. I was born in Australia. I get it. When I was a kid, I grew up around people and around a family that spoke Dutch. That we talked about the place. I had my grandparents, my mum. And I had my great auntie who spoke fondly about her homeland, and it was interesting where, like I was born here and I love Australia, and I would never live in any other country full time. But there was something about going there which it sort of completed the circle. And I say to anyone, and we live in a multicultural society where as a 45-year-old, I'm not the only one who has parents or a parent from another country. If ever you think you should go, if you remember your parents or grandparents and you think you should go to an ancestral homeland, do it. Because when I was growing up, I followed the Dutch national soccer team. I remember I followed Ajax because I said to my grandfather, "Who's the best team? Who would you follow?" Ajax are good. And it was to go there was one of the most phenomenal things. I went there and I felt everything felt familiar, and that's, I suppose, for me, I would love that feeling for others. And I know we live in Australia, and I get it. And again, it's probably why we fight for Indigenous rights, because they need to feel a familiar homeland as well. They need to feel a familiar sense of country that they once had. For me, everything about that place felt familiar, and I can't wait to go back. And it's if anyone is ever considering finding, not finding, because I knew my roots, I knew exactly where I was from, but if you ever want to learn more about who you are or where you come from, I fully applaud you, because I think there's, sadly, and you've only got to listen to one lunatic's speech at the press club yesterday. You need to, if you are unsure or you want to investigate or you feel like you need to explore where you're from or reconnect with your heritage, I fully implore you to do it, because I'm lucky. I've always had mine, and going there was more or less the, I suppose, the full stop. For someone who is exploring that, please do it. It's I've spoken to so many people. It's, you have one family, and I think of my father-in-law who organised a book. So he wrote a book on his. Well, he didn't write it. He organised for historians to write a book on his grandfather and his history out to Australia. So my wife's family, whilst my father-in-law was born in India, they sort of have been coming out here since the late 1800s. And what you're doing by exploring your heritage is you're creating a legacy for those, for your kids, grandkids, whatever. And I think that that's so important. We live in a global community that's becoming smaller and smaller, and the access to that is becoming easier and easier. And I think for people like you, Griff, I know your connection to Malta and what that does for your kids, and I know, to go to Holland and us all wear orange at watching the friendly. It's a connection that I can't put into words. So I suppose if there's anything I want to share about my experience is, whatever your heritage is and however you feel that heritage means to you, explore it fully. Because we are a multicultural society and we should be proud of that multiculturalism. We live in a multicultural society that's unlike any other on the globe, and we should be proud of that. And we should be able to explore and be proud of the heritage we're from without vindication or vilification, regardless of the country. And yes, sadly, the powers that be give us friends and enemies, but really we're all from a place on this globe which makes us all one, and that's what's important. And we need to understand that, and we need to applaud that. And I hope that the global game at the moment, and although we got 2-2 against Japan, which I'm not too happy about, but that's okay, I hope if we watch the global game, it sees a bit of that. And if you ever want to see what passion and pride is, Google Scotland's national anthem singing "Flower of Scotland" in the World Cup. That I got a little bit. I'm not Scottish, and I got emotional. So if we live in one world, and that world has many different houses, and regardless of the world house you come from, you should step a foot in it and be proud that you're part of it.
Well said, Shano.
Yep, that was it.
I can relate. Like, I won't say much. I'll just say that I wasn't as much into my heritage as what you have been. But as I got older, certainly that changed somewhat. I actually am now a dual citizen of Malta and Australia. And it took me a similar sort of number of years. I think I was 47 when I first got to Malta, and it just felt like home.
Yep.
Even though I'd never been there.
It's amazing, isn't it?
And I wasn't, as I said, I wasn't as much into my heritage as what you have been, but yeah, I echo all of the words that you said, and yeah. So, listeners, we've veered a little bit out from our key sort of reason for being here, but if you're still listening, hopefully, yeah, you've listen to what Shane says.
You get it.
He's a wise man, and I echo everything he said. Thank you.
But we got some wonderful rugby league games coming up, and if you're into, well, got some wonderful rugby league games coming up, and if you're into your football, well, Saturday 5 a.m. USA play Australia. That's going to be a cracking match.
Oh yeah, I'll be up for that one.
And I'm going to be up at 3:00 in the morning on Sunday, watching Netherlands, the Oranje, versus Sweden, and we need to win that one to.
Oh, that's a big game. Sweden are a good side. They got the win in their first game.
Big win. We've drawn with Japan. Really need to show it against Sweden, guys. Thank you for being a part of it.
Who's the other team in that group, Shano?
Oh, it's hard. Like I think Japan's a threat.
But like, who the Swedes beat? I knew they.
Tunisia. Sorry.
Tunisia. Okay.
Yeah, so they beat Tunisia, and then I think Tunisia are shambles. They sacked their coach. So.
Really?
I'll tell you what. If you're someone who thinks they're sort of into, as an Australian, if you're in Australia and you sort of think you're into football and you're not too sure, it's on SBS, free app, guys. Jump on, and it's the football.
SBS on demand. You can watch the minis.
Football has been amazing. New Zealand 2-2. It's just been 2-2 against Iran. You can the Messi was on fire against Algeria. 1-1. Portugal, Congo, they stood up. There's been some amazing.
Spain a draw with their
Spain.
Opponents.
Curicó scored their first ever World Cup goal. Dick Advocaat, I've got a soft spot for him because he was once our Dutch coach. He was in tears, and rightly so. I have not thought that any moment I came over here sleep deprived and jet lagged. I'm continuing to be, because there is no part of this at the moment. Australia the other night were outstanding. So, guys, if you sort of think you want to sort of be in football, get into football. This World Cup at the moment is absolutely electric. I cannot speak highly enough of it. But anyway, that's us done. Griffo, thanks for everything tonight.
Thank you, Shano. Thank you, listeners.
Thank you. Take care, and we'll see you next week. Hope your team wins.
Bye-bye.